Michael in California, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Hey, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to speak to both of you. Well, I just wanted to talk about whether we can be more than agnostic atheists or agnostic theists, and then talk a little bit about what type of, and I don't want to get into the specifics of it, but maybe like whether it's logical to assume a Bayesian probability for the existence of God based on cumulative evidence. So I can narrow it down if you want, but I'll let you guys lead the discussion.
Oops. I think my first question for you, Michael, would be a little bit of a clarification. You ask if we can be more than agnostic atheists. What does the more mean in this case? Like as in strong atheism, positive atheism?
Well, I'm going to lay out this premise, and you can accept it or deny it. I'll say that I can't be more, in terms of any type of epistemology, be more than an agnostic theist, and I would say the same is also for all atheists. You can't be anything more than an agnostic atheist. In other words, even as, Dillahunty and others say that, they can't say that God doesn't exist.
Yeah. So while I agree that the honest position would be we can't know for certain anything, I've definitely met plenty of people who are very, very proud to say that they're 100% certain. And I think it's because of those people that we need to include the Gnostic.
Right. So there certainly can be, and there are atheists who do say there is no God. For me, I would say I'm agnostic about the concepts of God in general. Like there could be some kind of overarching deistic thing that we just haven't, experienced sufficiently to prove or disprove. But the time to believe something is when there's sufficient evidence. So I don't believe in that thing. I just accept that it might be a possibility.
Yeah, great.
Future.
Okay, let's take it from.
I do want to clarify.
Let's take it from there. No, I understand, and that makes perfect sense.
V wants to add one last caveat.
One last caveat, so that we're all.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I am a strong, quote unquote, atheist. I hate the way that it's like strong and positive as opposed to like weak and negative. It's like, why? Yeah. But I am a strong atheist when it comes to specific God claims. So when I'm asked, does the Judeo-Christian God, as discussed by most modern apologetics, exist? I'm going to say positively, no, that God does not exist. Some God might exist. That one does not. So it's a nuanced position, but I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
And I'm actually in agreement with V on this. We're both on the same page.
But I would actually say even in regards to Yahweh or whatever name you want to give it, Allah or whatever, that even on that claim, you can only be agnostic. That would be my position philosophically. We don't need to get in a deep dive of epistemology or ontology or anything of that nature.
That's good, especially because we want to make sure we make time for everybody. And you gave us 3 things that we can talk for hours.
I don't want to monopolize anybody's time, but I wanted to, because I thought it was interesting. Your previous callers, the approach that they take, and I know most times you get anecdotal stories and things of that nature.
Sure.
But
and you are a believer.
Because I would consider myself an agnostic theist. In other words, at base level, I'm going to go with Spinoza and Einstein, and I'm going to say that there's some type of creative mind that is behind the order of the universe. Now, beyond, I know that's nebulous, and maybe it's not explanatory enough, but I think that's at a base level. I don't think brute facts can explain it all. I don't think that, the Big Bang is a good enough theory to explain the ordered laws of physics that created, the ordered reality that we see now.
Hold on, Michael. I want to respond to that.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure, yeah, please.
Sure. That sounds like the argument from personal incredulity. It seems like we've gone over that on a couple of calls already, at least one other call. I don't understand X, and therefore. So
no.
You don't understand Big Bang cosmology, therefore.
Yeah, no. Let's stop that argument right there. It's not an argument for incredulity. I mean, we can test our knowledge of quantum mechanics, individually or whatever, but it's not necessary. But take it. It's not an argument from incredulity. Okay, I don't think, this is my opinion based on the science that I know, and luckily, we're all blessed to be able to, have, the internet and YouTube and everything else. We can listen to Sean Carroll and whatever other physicists we want to explain, his conception of the nature of reality, as well as read Einstein or Spinoza, whoever else we want to get, a conception of what the universe is. My position would be that, because of, we can order it, say,
Michael?
I could take a transcendental. Yeah, go ahead.
We've got to cut to the point. I could talk to you personally for hours and hours, and it sounds like you've got a lot that you want to say and the nuances that you want to give. I want to make sure that we have enough time to have a dialogue. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a new argument, because I know we both heard tag and, ontological argument and teleological arguments. Okay. And the whole 9 yards. We've heard William Lane Craig. We've heard it all, but I want to give you a new argument. How about that? I think that'd be fantastic. I would love that, and that's going to be the last thing we do with you today. But
okay, great. It's 4 premises. It's very quick.
Cool. Go for it.
It has to do with the nature of consciousness. Okay, and so premise 1: subjective experience is relevant to the explanation of human behavior, or it is not. Excluded middle principle. We can both accept that. Correct?
Say that one more time.
Okay, either subjective experience, or if you want to say consciousness, in its capacity of the way we experience reality, is relevant in the explanation of behavior, or it is not.
No.
Basically, it's okay. So, well, I know you're saying, but I'm saying either it is or it's not. So
I'm saying positively that it's not.
But like as a claim, we can agree.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, so we agree with that.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it's not relevant. Okay. Right. Now, if it's not relevant, then I would claim then that materialism is absurd. Because
I agree. Everything is absurd.
Taking it. What's that?
I agree. I'm an absurdist, Michael.
Hey, I love the comedy of the absurd. I think that's the funniest thing to laugh about anything.
I can clarify. I can clarify.
Basically, it's similar. It's similar to Plantinga's argument, against evolutionary.
Understood. I can button this up really quick, and that is that. Sure. So my understanding of consciousness is that consciousness is an emergent property of having a brain.
An emergent property. Yeah, I know.
And so when you're studying an emergent property, you can see it to degrees, right? We can argue about whether or not you are conscious when you're sleeping.
I know, but you're missing the argument. The argument is, if it is just an emergent property based on physics, based on matter and motion and neural activity, if that premise is true, then materialism is really actually absurd, because we don't have a basis for logic. And I know that it kind of goes down the realm of, in your mind, might seem somewhat.
No. So I think, Michael, that we get down to the problem of hard solid. No, not hard solipsism. Sorry, we're getting to.
Yeah.
Oh, what is it now?
Hard consciousness. Yeah, which we don't have an answer to, but. That would be my argument against materialism. And if materialism crumbles, and I believe evolution is a possibility, whether it's guided or not. But I think you still need an explanation for the laws of physics and chemistry.
So Michael,
matter and energy to begin with. Yeah,
got it. We're both operating with a set of assumptions.
Throw that out there.
I understand. We're both operating on a set of assumptions. One of those assumptions is that the laws of logic hold. We're both operating with that. And I'm granting that to you in order to have this conversation, and you're granting that to me in order to have this conversation. Moving from there, we can behave in a logical manner. Exactly. So yes, it sucks that we can't, prove the laws of logic, because we would need the laws of logic to prove it. But that doesn't mean that we throw the baby out with the bathwater. It just means that we understand and accept that we have a core set of assumptions that we are allowing each other to have in order to move forward in talking about the world.
No, I that's a given to even have the discussion. I agree with that.
Agreed.
But if we break it down into, a philosophical analysis of.
I think the philosophical
how it
analysis
affects-
would be fantastic,
Yeah.
just not on this platform. But you know what? Message the show, mail@talkheathen.com, because I personally would love to continue this conversation. And if we can find ways to have it in a manner that is, very useful and engaging for an audience that's watching, then we can move it back to Talk Heathen. But I think that some of this needs to be fleshed out a little bit more before it's, consumable.
Well, granted, I mean, we're probably talking about some things that maybe, but I'll be honest with you. I'm going to put this on a personal level really quickly. The reason why I've dived in the last couple of years, I dove into this whole metaphysical realm of consciousness and everything else because, I lost my 20-year-old son.
Oh my God.
Because of that, I appreciate that, but it really made me question, what is the nature of consciousness? Can it, survive the body, things of that nature? And what is, the ultimate ontology of everything? And the bottom line is we both have access to the top minds in the world, through some crazy invention, thanks to Tesla and those who followed him. We have the internet. And we can listen to the top physicists, speculate on these things. And I recommend all your listeners to listen to, if they haven't discovered it, Lawrence Kuhn's program, Closer to Truth, is really good as far as exploring, these very questions: existence of God, consciousness, cosmology, everything. And I think we probably have a similar knowledge base, and I guess I'll just wrap this up back around to my original position that even though maybe you're both hard atheists, I don't think you have epistemological justification for that,
Yeah, I think we both defined ourselves as not that. V very clearly had stated already that it just depends on how you're defining God. And moving from there, though, I think that consciousness as a concept is a fantastic conversation. I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. And I don't. Here's the thing, Michael.
Yeah.
As a human, want to embrace you and be understanding that, because that loss sounds impossible to understand and get through. I am not going to pretend to understand the pain that you're going through. And
I appreciate that.
I don't want to take advantage of your pain.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that,
you sound like a compassionate person. I'm here to discuss ideas because I want the truth too. Truth is reality. Reality is truth.
I just wanted to be
somehow,
Michael, I just wanted to be clear.
Let me ask one final question.
Hold on.
So I don't want to put this on that.
Hold on.
Much of a personal level. One final question.
Yep.
Do you think it's possible that consciousness? Yeah. Go ahead.
I just wanted to button up and say I appreciate that you're keeping it that way. You shared something very personal about yourself, and I would be remiss not to respond. Now, go ahead with your question. Last one.
Last thought, because to me, these are the two kind of like fundamental questions I can't get around as far as like get to the point where I could say that God doesn't exist. One, as I said before, just where did the laws of physics come from? The nature of quantum mechanics and everything else. Okay, I know argument for incredulity, but that's just saying. But that I'm not saying that. I'm just saying where did they come from? Okay, was it just a brute fact from eternity? And then two,
no, you said one question, Michael. I want you to call back.
Yeah.
So hold on to the second one because that is a good enough cliffhanger for people listen in. Okay, man.
Well, I just say maybe consciousness came before God.
Come on, man. Take care, buddy.
Okay,
I see, but that's the thing is we are passionate on all sides of this conversation, and that's why it's fun to engage in.
Yes.
Obviously, this is someone who does not agree with us, but in the act of talking about what we're passionate about, it shows.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. I adore those.